been a long time getting here, man. Seems like we've been talking about it for a long time,
yes.
prepping. So what does it feel like now that it's finally here?
You know, I'm really excited. I'm just excited to get in there. A little bit of me is just, man, I just want to get this over with, this fight coming back. I mean, after breaking my arm, I even thought, man, I just can't wait to get back in there and just use it and just get that behind me. And then the herniated disc, and then all this anticipation and build up and having to put it on, put it on hold again. So I'm just glad it's here, and mostly just, I'm just so glad to be able to get back in there and fight, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Obviously, you've been a part of high-level fights for a long time. What's the feel like, though, as far as, any nerves, anticipation, that sort of thing, compared to those instances?
You know, I think for me, this is different. It is new. I feel fine with it. I like experiencing new things. I think if anybody's ever been involved in any kind of fighting, or even been around somebody who is a fighter, there is just so much nervousness involved with it. It doesn't matter what it is. So I fear every opponent I'm against. I get worked up, I get nervous for every fight I have, and this just has a little more attention on it. So yeah, it carries a little more weight, but any fight I want to win just as badly. It's not just because people are watching. I want to win just because I want to win. So it is a lot, and it's new, but there have been, I faced a lot of opposition where I've been the underdog in a lot of fights, and coming up and coming back from, big losses and things like that. So I feel like that has given me a little bit of experience of just kind of being under the limelight and having to face a big challenge. So
it seems like the expectations are really high for you. People want you to come in. What do you think? I mean, do you welcome that, and the fact that it looks like people, want you to succeed really quick, or do you want people to kind of temper what? Because I think it's like if you don't come out there and have a first-round knockout, they're gonna say, "Oh, come on."
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a little bit of a lose-lose situation, because I think, the expectations are so high. How can you meet that? You go to a movie that everybody talks about, and you go and you're like, well, it wasn't that great. But if you go to a movie that's not really that talked about, and you're like, hey, I kind of, because you don't have this already perceived, a perception of how it's supposed to be. So that is probably the hardest thing I'm focusing on, is just fighting my fight and not feeling like I have to do this thing that takes me out of my comfort zone. I want to go in and do what I always do, and that's just perform and go by the game plan. And if people like it, they like it, and if they don't, I'm there to fight no matter what. So.
On that same note, do you feel like you have to prove that you're more well-rounded than just boxing?
I do, but I've been saying this the whole time. I would rather be on that end of it than people thinking I'm not going to do anything, don't have any expectations of me because they don't think I can do it. So it is a lot, and I think about it and I think, man, I better do something great, because there's a lot of hype, and I need to make this worth something. But at the end of the day, I want to get in there and fight, and I need to not think about, what everybody else is thinking, and just kind of do my thing.
Does this fight lend itself to something other than boxing? A stand-up fight against Pennington? Does this fight lend itself to that more well-rounded?
I think that Pennington has a good, well-rounded game with her. She's good in the clinch. She's comfortable with it. She's comfortable with, some of her chokes we've obviously seen. We've all seen them. And obviously that's not the only thing she practices in jiu-jitsu. She's probably got a lot more, tools in her toolbox. So, and then she had one of the best, kind of most popular fights from the show, from The Ultimate Fighter, because it was kind of a brawl. So I think she's kind of done a little bit of everything. What a perfect fight for me, to know that I'm against someone who has a little bit of everything. So.
She said that she asked for you, and then when you got hurt, she asked for you again.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? I mean, I would think you could respect her as a fighter, but you're like, what, does she see something in me that she wants?
I always like to be the one that kind of is on the other end of it. I like other people to call me out anyway, and I want to always feel like I'm just ready for whatever. I don't ever want to be the one to actually pick a fight. I've never done it once in my entire career. Even if they say, do you want to fight this girl or this girl, whenever I've had options before, I've told my manager and my promoter, you pick. I'm not picking. I feel like that's the day that I'll get my butt handed to me. I just want to fight whoever you put in front of me, and that's going to be my challenge. And I need to rise to that occasion. I don't want to be picky about my opponent, because I think every fighter is someone to fear. Anything can happen in there, and anybody can land a punch. Anybody can do any of that. So I just like to take the best of whatever opportunity is in front of me.
You're a pretty heavy favorite. Are people underestimating her a little bit, you think?
You know, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think with all this expectation, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you're just gonna knock her out, which has never been finished before, so that's a lot to say. I know that. So for me, I fear her. She's ranked higher than me, so I don't really know how I'm such a favorite, but and I know that, and I know it's a very tough fight, so I'm not looking past her at all.
It's one thing to be making your UFC debut. How does it feel to be thrust into the co-main event?
Oh, it's big, but it's still just the same fight, and no matter what, it's still my first fight in the UFC. It's still my first fight after my injuries. I feel like this would kind of carry a lot of weight anyway. I would be nervous, a little more nervous than normal. I'm always nervous for fights, no matter what they are. I get nervous to train every day because I want to do well, I want to perform well, and so now I'm just kind of at the point where, you know, it was that added extra weight, but what can you do?
How do you feel about Ronda saying she thinks you make sense as a possible next opponent after Saturday?
It's very flattering. I definitely want to get in and prove myself to even be the opponent for that. For me, I feel like it's very flattering, and I want that fight, obviously. Who wouldn't? If you're in the sport, you want to fight for the championship, so that's what I would like to do. But in due time, when the right time.
If they said it was next, though, would you be okay with that?
I am always just, I let it up to my manager and my trainer. I always just, if they say let's do it, then I say okay, let's do it. You know, I don't like to say no because my ego tells me that I can't, and I don't want to say let's do it because I don't want to be the one big in the fight. So my mental game is always neutral. I just say, you just tell me and I'll just be ready.
Are you here by yourself today?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that normal? Because I know Ronda walks in with 20 people. You're here by yourself. Is that?
You know, I have my manager here and his wife, Lenny and Linda, and they've been with me the whole week. But I feel like, you know, I've got my husband's working. He wanted to come out early, and I said, I think you might stress me more being on your phone, stressing about work. So just stay home and work. And I'll go out there and just, I mean, really having a whole bunch of people is basically just holding your hand and, okay, well, let's go over here to open workouts. Okay, well, you know, let's go over here to this interview. So I don't really mind being by myself. It's stuff I got to do anyway, whether people are with me or not. So I don't mind it.
Holm, how has your fighting in the pocket changed since you started training in it?
You know, I've gotten to where I don't get too comfortable in the pocket because a lot of other things can happen. So it has changed a little bit, but if I'm there, I'm not afraid to just kind of let it go a little bit. But you have to be a little more careful so they don't clench on or try and toss you over or anything like that.
So do you fight shorter? Do you punch shorter and anticipate tie-up?
You know, I think the biggest thing is just not to sit after the punches. Throw punches, not just sit there and let them, you know, do whatever they want, shoot on you or clinch on you or anything like that. So in boxing, you can sit there and play the inside game and just punch each other and stand there all day, and you can't do that in MMA.